here.
Call the meeting to order. City of Anamosa City Council, regular session, Monday, March 9th, 2020, 6 p.m., City Hall Council Chambers. 1.0 roll call.
Capron,
Here.
Stout,
Here.
Zumba,
Here.
Lockhart,
Here.
Smith,
Here.
Rowe.
Here.
2.0 Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You need to push up?
No, thank you.
Okay.
Prior to going to 3.0, I think there's a rather full house here tonight. So I want to take the opportunity again to remind the public on what the procedure or policy is for the meeting. I ask that when you come to the podium that you state your name and address and the business you have with the council. That you direct your inquiries to the council and you do it in a professional manner, and they will also reciprocate with that. I ask that there be no sidebar conversations in the room. If you become disruptive in your sidebar conversations, I will ask Chief Hoyt to escort you from the premise. This is a meeting to conduct city business with the public's opinion will be taken, but it is the council that have the discussion on the subject matters and come to a decision. 3.0. Oh, excuse me, we do have an added emergency item. On the agenda, it is 6.8. I'm gonna move forward with this, as it is my understanding that there will not be a final decision on 6.8. It is just a matter of setting a public hearing, that it does fall within emergency items added to the agenda for amended. And it is permissible because there is no action item to be taken at tonight's meeting other than setting the public hearing. So I would entertain the council as a motion to accept the amended agenda with the inclusion of 6.8.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Kay, second by Allen, to approve the amended agenda. All those in council in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion carries unanimously. 3.0, motion to approve the minutes from the following meeting. 3.1, February 24th, 2020, regular council meeting.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Rich, second by John, to approve the council the meeting minutes as submitted. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Approved unanimously. 3.2, March 2nd, 2020, budget work session.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Jeff, to approve the minutes as submitted. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Approved unanimously. 4.0, proclamations, none. 5.0, old business. 5.1, discussion and possible approval of snow removal policy.
Following our discussion at the last meeting, there were a few modifications, primarily to section 3. And section 7. I think that's the only changes that were made. I don't know if Greg wants to speak anything on it, or if you guys have questions, but
I have no issues or concerns with it.
make a motion to approve the snow removal policy.
Second.
There's a motion by Rich, second by Kay, to accept the policy as presented. Can we go to vote? Public opinion on this matter?
Tom Durgan, property owner downtown. Just a quick question, will we do, like I think it was Al suggested about plowing it, keeping it 2-3 foot from curb on Main Street? Will that be in that? Or is that just gonna be, they'll just kinda do it as they do it? I think it was Al that said that. They mentioned that the last couple meetings ago. Rather than plowing it up on the sidewalk, so we have to clean it off and treat it and then treat it and clean it and treat it and clean it.
There's nothing specified in there regarding how far it's kept from the sidewalk, but it should never be put on the sidewalk.
Okay.
It will be plowed to the edge of the street and then pushed to the ends of the block.
Okay, alright, thank you.
Any other public opinion? Again, a motion by Rich, Kay, second by Kay to accept the snow policy as submitted. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. 6.0, new business. 6.1, renewal of EMC insurance policy with effective date of April 1st, 2020.
Jackie, you wanna get us started?
Sure. So I presented to Jacob the renewal for the EMC policy that'll take effect here in March. There was an increase to that policy of about $48,000. What's driving that is the workers' compensation went up over $30,000 due to claims. As I spoke last time, we're in the works of getting some safety programs in place to help mitigate that. There's also some claim procedures that, Jacob and his department are requesting to be followed to make sure that proper claims are turned in a timely manner. Ask a nurse is used to help maintain the number of claims that are being turned in and the level of the claim that's turned in. So that was a big piece of it. Another fairly large piece of it was the umbrella, and that's just due to claims on that piece. And then the buildings also saw a bit of an increase also, but the building replacement cost values went up $614,000 in replacement cost value. A lot of that's being driven by the tariffs and the wildfires out in California. The cost of construction just took a big hit over the last 8 to 12 months. So when you have an inflation protection guard in your policy of 4%, that's just being followed but to keep up with that inflation. The total premium due for the year is $358,096. I did look at another carrier for the city through ICAP. They're not willing to take on the work comp exposure at this time. So if we correct that, I think that we'll have a lot more options in the future to control premium.
So Jackie, as you stated, there's policies and training gonna be put in place in the city's part to hopefully curb future work comp claim. As you stated, that those will also assist in mitigation. So we put these in place, but we are still seeing a $48,000 increase. How could one say that you are even being proactive?
Well, we began last September, and your workers' comp mod has a 3-year experience to it. So they look at 3 years, and they take the average. So it's gonna take a little while to correct itself, just to clean itself up. It became a issue when employees were allowed to just call in or go to the emergency room, so you had a frequency problem in addition to, you know, a large injury problem with shoulders and hips and that type of thing. Cost a lot of money. So it's not gonna be a turnaround thing. The IAMU, which you guys are a member of, they have safety directors that come out and direct meetings and put safety programs in place. There's currently a plan to coordinate a safety director that maybe multiple cities can share the expense of, so that will help also. But it's pretty, I hear what you're saying, it's just not gonna be a quick turn on that. But I'm here to shop it as soon as we can, and so that you have a couple different options to explore.
EMC does mostly cities and
Cities and schools. They create safety programs for those types of exposures. They've just created a funeral home one for just funeral homes. So they specialize in safety programs, and basically your premium gets put into a bucket with all the other cities, and then you share the expenses and losses. And it's the best way to deliver a really great premium. They're stable, they're not going through any litigation right now like ICAP is with, you know, dirty funds and that type of thing. So you can hold your head high as a council and know that you're insured with a great company. They deliver on their claims, they investigate properly, never had a complaint around their claim process. They do have safety measures in place, like the Ask a Nurse program, where a supervisor can call in with the employee and get first aid medical advice right away before just rushing to the emergency room. So those tools exist, in addition to a whole bunch of other safety tools that are free to you as being an IAMU member.
Does council have any questions for Jackie? Does the
I
public?
might mention one more thing. We did explore increasing deductibles on autos, and it did have a savings of about $3,500 to increase those deductibles. And then it was also discussed a cyber liability policy. Cyber liability continues to be a problem just across the world, and cities can be vulnerable also. And so there is a big policy that you can become. Basically, it's a group, a safety group of cyber liability. And the cost for that coverage, it would provide $1 million right out of the gate for coverage for cyber. And if that's exceeded, you would be part of the safety group's $10 million policy. If the city's revenues are under $1 million, the cost of that is $750 a year. If it's between $1 million and $5 million, the premium is $1,000 a year with a $2,500 deductible. This takes care of ransom, privacy liability, sending out notices when something's happened, replacing all your equipment if things have been hacked and locked. So it's a pretty comprehensive cyber policy for the city to consider. I did send the information to Jacob. You have until April 1st to decide, but if any of you have any questions on it, feel free to give me a call. You don't have to decide today.
How much was that again?
If the city revenues are under $1 million, it's $750 a year. And if it's between $1 million and $5 million, it's $1,000. That does have a $2,500 deductible.
in both instances.
Mm-hmm.
Do they also aid with forensics?
Yeah, how do you mean?
Well, if the system is compromised in any fashion, going through the system to detect, to try to figure out who did what and how they did it?
They will, as part of the investigation, they're not gonna come in and set up firewalls and that type of
Right.
thing for you.
They're not gonna protect.
But that's all part of that
but
liability,
The investigation forensic
correct?
is part of it, okay.
Yeah, and if the city gets sued as a result of somebody's identity getting compromised, this policy would be there
Okay.
as coverage. phishing scams seem to be the rising problem. Or they'll fish and send you a link, and now they're in your system. Sorry, Rod, I just thought I'd add that at the end. Any other questions on the renewal?
Does the public have any questions on this? Doesn't appear. Thank you, Jay.
Thank you.
Entertain a motion or some other discussion on the renewal of the insurance policy.
I'll make a motion to approve, and I would also like us to, at another meeting here shortly, discuss the cyber IT policy.
If you get me that date, I can arrange to have an EMC professional be here to address any deeper questions that you might have.
Okay.
I have a little notice on that.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
A quick question, would the cyber just cover the city hall, or would it cover all of the city's things, like the library and each individual that has computers and?
Yeah, Kay, it'd cover all the exposure that the city has at any one of your areas.
Okay, thank you.
Even mobile, like in a police car,
Okay, oh,
Yes.
awesome.
compromised that way.
So if we are required to have a final decision by an April 1st deadline, that would tell me, Rich, that your motion is to have
Next meeting.
next meeting, that will be on the agenda.
Yep.
Got a note written down.
Okay. Motion by Rich, second by Galen to approve the renewal of the insurance policy with a follow-up agenda item on the cyber at the next meeting. All those in favor signify, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. 6.2.
I'm gonna apologize, I'm gonna sneak out. Thank you for your time for the
Thank
choir
you.
concert. And stay back.
6.2, resolution appropriating funds to outside agencies for fiscal year 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Kay, second by Alan. Does the public have any questions on this agenda item?
Nancy Schaefer, 803 North Division Court. Can you explain to us where the funds are coming? Because I just see a lot of opinions on this. People think their taxes are being raised and stuff, and where these monies are coming from.
So there's two different revenue sources for the money here. $55,760 are coming from hotel motel taxes, so that derives completely from taxes on hotel rooms, people who come to stay here. The other 13,525 are coming from the general fund, so that's just money that is, I mean, it is property tax based, but it can be used for pretty much anything the city needs to use, so.
Can you recite back the motion? Who made the motion? Who seconded?
Kay Smith made the motion, second by Alan.
Thank you. If there's no further discussion, again, there's a motion on the floor from Kay and second by Alan to appropriate the funds to the outside agencies for fiscal year 2021. This is a roll vote.
Crump,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
All indicated in favor. 6.3, protest of January 2020 utility bill for 205 East Liberty Street.
Hi, Aubrey Edwards, 205 East Liberty Street. So basically, I got a bill for $1,849.59 at a residence I didn't live at in January. My last night there was December 27th, which I still had possession of the property because my lease was through January. So I was just expecting to get like a minimum bill or something lower than what I usually received as a bill. And nobody seems to have answers for me for this bill as to why. My landlords have found no leaks anywhere. As far as the meter, I guess there's no leaks in the meter. And this letter I received from Jacob says that if I don't pay it by April 9th, I got an extra 30 days, then my water at my current new residence will be shut off. So I have a 5-year-old daughter and live paycheck to paycheck, and I don't have $18,000 or $1,800. Yeah. So
Can I ask you one question? It says that you checked on the property once to twice a week, and nothing was running out of the ordinary,
no.
so,
I always check on it. It's winter time. Make sure pipes weren't frozen. I did cleaning while I was there, like dusting, mopping with my Swiffer wet jet. And yeah, I mean, I might have filled up 1 bucket of water.
well, I'm just having a hard time believing $1,800 worth of water, cause I looked at my bill and calculated it'd take me over 21 months to reach $1,800.
I think it was
That you'd almost have to have that water running constantly for days to achieve this, and I'm having a hard time just believing this.
The basement would be full of water by now. There were no leaks anywhere, you found nothing.
I have no answer.
The owner of it didn't find any leaks.
No.
Did they have a plumber come and check it out?
Yeah, Cross. And the plumber was there for, I think, Nancy Schaefer wrote a letter, saying, or
Put her on the spot.
yes, Rickliff. It said they did the walkthrough on the 29th, and then Eric Brokens and Doug were there on January 30th. Eric was there for 3 hours and didn't notice anything running either. So, I mean, the apartment was empty, kinda would have heard something, I would believe.
I would,
And
I
that,
mean, you'd have to be running a full faucet for days to achieve that,
cause
so.
that totaled to be, 80,000 gallons basically is what I'm being charged for.
Yeah.
I pulled mine out, so when our house was new and we had a newly seeded yard 2 years ago, I guess I pulled out and I ran, half-acre lot, ran sprinklers twice a day for 2 hours a day. And for 2 months, the highest one was like under $250.
Yeah.
And that was and that was using a ton of water.
And the only other issue that I had about this was, on January 29th, I turned my keys into Rickliff's, and I had called Linda to have her get the water out of my name, and she said she couldn't until the new tenant paid the $100 deposit. And the new tenant had contacted me and said she didn't have the $100, so basically there was 3 days that I didn't even have access to the property, and the water was still in my name.
Yeah, that part we gotta address, that's a different issue, but we gotta
Right.
We can
address that.
definitely address that.
But, yeah, I just really am having a hard time.
One thing, Jim, you'll remember my neighbor quite a few years ago. His bill was normally $60-70, and for 2 months it was $700-800. Well, Jim understands, there's a multiplier, multiply it by 10, is that right, Jim? Well, then it was multiplied again. And that's why Jim finally figured out, cause they changed the meter and everything. And I was told, Jim, no, that a meter won't overread, it'll underread maybe.
Yeah,
But
we
that
did
was the
test
problem then, and why his for 2 months in a row, it multiplied it twice. I mean, I'm not saying that happened, but that's
They added an extra zero onto it when during billing on accident.
something, yeah.
Cause my average water bill, I had it printed out was $115 basically a month was my average water bill when I lived there. And I have copies of the bill if anyone wants to look at it, and the letter that I received. Also, I received the warning letter on February 6th, basically saying contact my landlord and have everything checked over. So February 6th, it was kind of a done deal with the bill, so.
There's definitely I mean, not just this item, the next one I've heard from others that aren't on this. I don't know, I have to believe we have this new formulation the first of the year, and we're having these astronomical bills. I mean, I have a hard time believing that you'd have one, if not two people having bills like this.
I've heard of a handful of people that have contacted me that have received the warning letter, and their bill is like currently being processed right now. So I don't know what their situation is and whatever, but by the sounds of it, I'm not the only one.
Have we gone back and just randomly sampled and recalculated some of the bills to make sure they're accurate?
We haven't recently, just sampled some and tested them, but the ones that we've received, concerns from, we have tested all of those, and those are being calculated correctly.
Since the changeover?
Yeah.
But going back from December backwards, as far as you guys can remember, I mean, do you ever remember a bill being that high? I mean, on the old calculation of the bill? I mean, what was the highest you've ever seen?
I don't know what the highest one was.
I can't think of a residential example this high, but I mean,
I know there was a couple that they were at $600 for a month, 1 month, and
Yeah.
they had 2 different plumbers come in, look at everything, and they couldn't find anything. So it's not that it's an isolated, it's been happening off and on over time.
Yeah, but if plumbers are marking, writing off on it that it's okay, and landlords, I mean, I think we need to do something. We can't just say, too bad.
Well,
Oh, no.
what I'm thinking is, we take an average and whatever for that 1 month, if we go back 3 months and average out your bills for 3 months, and say, okay, that's gonna be your January bill, that work?
Yeah, I mean, that's a reasonable answer, so.
So I'm gonna make a motion that we go back, average out 3 months worth of bills, and establish that as her January bill? Is that the one that you're, her January bill?
I'll second that.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Aubrey,
Yes.
just for some clarifications, every couple of days or every couple of weeks, you did a walkthrough of
Yeah,
your apartment
At least once or twice a week, I would go in
and seen nothing trickling, nothing running. And if it's coming through a faucet or a toilet stool, obviously it's going to go down through the sewer, so there won't be any buildup or pile up of water. You did have the carpets professionally cleaned.
Yep, on the 7th
So
of
from
January.
when they would have exited the premises till the next time you came in, there was nothing running.
I walked on the carpets wet, cause I had to get a couple boxes from closets and stuff, so I was there, I dusted the blinds, I got 100% of my deposit back, so it's not like I did everything very thorough.
Did the plumbers come in and replace some flappers on the stools?
Nancy had wrote a letter, I don't know if you guys all got a copy of it.
That is what the landlord dropped off, and I just had passed
She
it.
said, the upstairs toilet, she did the blue strips, there was no blue in the upstairs toilet. downstairs after a half hour, a small amount of blue showed up in the toilet. And Kraus just went ahead and, fixed both of the, what are they called, flappers in both of the toilets. And I asked to see what the new bill was, but it's not calculated yet for the following month, but so far that was it, but it took over 30 minutes for blue to even show up in any of the toilets, so. And I think they said if it's under 20 minutes, then you have a leak that you need to worry about. So,
Well, I had a leak last fall. It was a pinhole. I mean, a tiny little pinhole in an area that I don't go into, and my bill was over almost $200. So, you know,
Right.
I'm just telling you, it doesn't take much.
right,
Well, it doesn't take much to get to 200 or 300, but to get to
Yeah,
1,800,
I agree.
that's a whole different,
I agree. I'm not.
I, yeah.
But I had one last May, I think. We went to the in-laws in Tennessee, and the granddaughter come. We come home, and I thought, oh, toilet's running. That was about 10 days, and it was like $350. But that was 10 days, so three times that's around 1,000, and that toilet run continually.
yeah, and it didn't go,
And that was our fault.
right,
Schaefer fixed it.
right,
But I mean, that was running continually for 10 days at
Right.
least.
yeah, and
So I mean,
The
the
apartment didn't
1,800, it'd really be a big, I mean, I
Yeah,
have no answer what happened.
right,
It'd have to be a pretty good leak.
But it's not showing a leak now, correct?
They fixed both the toilets.
Pardon?
They repaired both the toilets, and it seemed like they,
I don't think we have a recent reading, but we tested the meter, and the meter was, I mean, functioning correctly.
I think we just look at it as a fluke and just be done with it.
So, and also, you've done a walk around the premises, there is, could have been nothing on the outside that,
the outside spigot was right by the front door when you go in, and I had unhooked my hose before winter, just so it didn't freeze, and my hose was like the first thing I moved to my new property to put in the garage, so, before I got snow all over. As far as the back of the house, there's just windows and a deck.
Well, and if it was an outside spigot, it would be a muddy mess. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
that
about-
much.
it would,
Or,
would
Well,
think
I'm
it'd be
sure my-
noticeable, I just
Yeah.
wanna
And I live in a
propose these
duplex, so I'm sure
questions.
the lady on the other half, she always kept an eye on everything, so. When you're retired, you can do that, I guess.
It's nice to have those neighbors.
It is.
I guess I just, because we are having a civil conversation regarding this, that you can understand when the city tests the meter and all the results come back that it's operating efficiently and the way it's supposed to, it kind of leaves less indicators as to what could be causing this.
Right. Yeah,
So the city took the stance it did at the time because, you know, there's really not many other things that it could be.
right. Thank you, I appreciate that. Thank you, everyone.
We haven't voted in favor yet, but
You're good.
Cindy Norton, I'm Aubrey's aunt.
okay, before we proceed, the agenda item is strictly for the water protest at 205 East Liberty Street.
Yeah, I'm here to talk to her about, I'm here in her defense. I hope
Okay.
I can,
I just wanted to make sure that was understood that we won't go into anybody else's water bills.
oh, no, I covered mine last week. No, but I guess I would like some clarification. I mean, it defies logic to have an $1,800 water bill. Seriously defies logic. So Aubrey had to do everything she had to do in this, including coming here to talk to all of you. I guess it could happen to any of us. I mean, so if we get an $1,800 water bill, we're gonna get a letter saying our water's gonna get shut off, when every other bill, like, is under $100 for myself. I mean, it defies logic. I think she went through so much with this water bill that was not necessary. So I guess I would like to see a policy that says if somebody has an astronomical water bill that defies logic, I mean, what's the procedure? When you have somebody that always has $150 water bills, they get an $1,800 water bill, the procedure is to have to keep discussing it and fighting it.
Unless an
and-
error can be found, from the city's perspective, an error from the meter, an error in the billing system,
Does logic ever take hold though? $1,800? I mean, at some point, logic has to filter into this, I would think, factor into it.
it is possible for that amount of water to be used. So,
Maybe if you had two 11-foot in-ground swimming pools or something, but, I mean,
Well, it is possible if you turned on your faucet and let it run full bore constantly for a full month, it is possible.
and she was able to say that
Right,
didn't
and
happen.
and that was the defense, and that's why we went the
Right,
direction we went.
right.
the issue
But-
is, as our policies sit, we don't, the administration, no staff person has the authority to waive any bill unless there is, an error that we can point to and say, that was our mistake. The policy that is set up is that for these situations where we can't find that, the customer does have the right to bring their bill to the city council, and they can take whatever action they would like. So they can waive that, we can't do that. Again, part of that's just so that, we're not, constantly bombarded with people requesting, changes on their bills. There are obviously cases, like this, and I think it's reasonable that we consider that, but,
Well, this has just been a really
And-
unfortunate
And
situation, so
the-
hopefully,
The other thing, Cindy, is right now, I think it was the last meeting, we did discuss some potential changes to the policy.
yep.
So we haven't formalized all of that yet, so maybe there may be something that we can incorporate into there.
yeah, there you go. Oh, that's a great idea,
So,
Rich. Yeah,
give
in
us a
case
little, give us a
something-
little time
Okay,
to kinda work through
Okay.
some things and see what we can come up with,
okay.
okay?
Just
Your Honor, may I offer something?
Yes, please
Just
do.
experience from other communities, I've actually seen this exact situation occur before, and there is a logical explanation for it. Assuming, and I think, Jim, I think you've confirmed that the meter was working correctly in this case. In another community, there was a defective fill valve, or Balcock valve, I think it's called, in the home. If you have a half-inch size leak, if you look at the data online on that could consume 1,827,000 gallons in a month.
But they determined that wasn't it.
Well,
so-
that's just what I'm saying. It sounds like there is a leak in the system somewhere. If that's what the explanation would be for it. That has nothing, however, to do with the council's desire to make a concession here, but
Right.
I don't think it'd be correct necessarily to say that it's illogical. That probably is exactly
Has
what
it
was
ever
measured.
happened before, though? I mean,
It has. It happens all the time. It's a really common thing. I've seen it several times in other communities. I'm just saying, but I
but when
think
it's
there
been,
should be a
but
concession
when it's
here,
been
don't
checked
get me
by a
wrong.
plumber, everything, yeah, it's,
We've had people
It's just
steal
not the
from
thing
other-
they typically admit, though, if they come back and notice that happened, and it's a week, 2 weeks later, and it's been running, and the person isn't there, and they don't notice it, that's typically what'll happen, is the plumber will say, oops, let's fix that right now, and, they're not gonna
I
tell
think,
you
I
that
think
they're
that's
responsible.
making a lot of assumptions there, so,
It could be, but
yeah.
Would just, I'm not discounting what you're saying.
I just think I'm just a very concerned aunt who really felt
you
like
know,
she had to go through a lot.
John has
so.
pointed out that in a 10-day window, he was able to consume a $300 water bill. If you were to leave that go for 30 days,
But they didn't,
okay, hear me out,
so,
and it goes unnoticed until 30 days that a leak is going down the drain, who knows what amount of usage would have flown through that meter? So, the council should and probably will take a look at this on an individual basis, and make a determination on each of those. But, it just stated, we will review the policy. It would be in the best interest for the council to make those final decisions, not the billing clerk or the city administrator.
So there'll be like a policy if someone has a bill that's way outside the norm.
I won't say there will be, we will certainly
You'll be
review
working
for
on
that.
it.
There-
Okay.
There'll at least be at a bare minimum, a policy or a process for appeal. So, but we'll work through that,
Okay,
and
okay.
you're welcome to attend the meetings and have input as
Yeah. Okay,
we're
okay,
going through them.
okay. But the
Okay.
appeal would not necessarily, would be a little more, just be a complete order of the process.
Well, in some cases, in some towns I've read, that if your bill comes in high, you can immediately make the appeal.
Okay,
You don't have to drag it out,
right, and
drag
keep
it out.
getting letters. and-
You,
Okay,
you make the appeal right away, so therefore then your bill goes on hold, and there's no penalties or anything until that appeal is heard.
oh, well, that's an excellent idea,
So-
rather than getting letters saying you're gonna get shut down.
Right, but
Okay.
it is the responsibility then of the individual.
To do the
once-
appeal
once-
process.
Once they
Mhm.
get that bill, to make that appeal.
Yeah, that would have been
But
beneficial.
that may be something that we need
Yeah,
to
that
write
sounds
into the
good.
policy.
Yeah, sounds good, okay.
Thank you,
Okay.
Cindy.
Jim, I know it's hard to figure, do you have any idea how many thousands of gallons this $1,800 would be? I know I don't know how much it is per gallon, but they,
Cubic feet wise, I just don't understand how this is becoming an issue on that scale. We've seen a lot of people, a lot of meters,
80,000
get used, and we're identified what the situation was, and we've also seen people steal water too. So I do feel for you, don't get me wrong, but we tested the meter, and my thoughts are is to find something wrong with the system. Otherwise, I can't really say we can do anything for the customer, but I do feel for you. I would rather, in my sight, say, guess what, we found something, you're off, we had a problem here, but we didn't find anything.
but it is, I should have read this better, we just got it, but Kay pointed out that'd be 80,000 gallons. Well, I was just figuring what it said here with this thing flushing every so often would be about 10,000 gallon. You know, every 5 minutes around a couple gallon in there.
It's just,
So it'd be a lot less than that 80,000. That's why I wondered, you know, the cost. If that was leaking, still wouldn't be 80,000. I mean, again, it's a mystery where it went or what happened, but
I gave Jacob a card on shows what leaks do, and I know people think that, it would have to be an extreme amount for it to go through, but if you see the card that shows what size leaks that are coming through your faucet or your toilet or anything else in the house, it becomes an extreme amount of money, and that's the chart right there.
If you'd like to see the chart, it's here. I kind of put a line at where, again, you said 80,000, that's roughly what it was.
yeah, that's what this letter said.
Which,
Yeah.
again, just, not that it really matters, we measure in cubic feet, so it's roughly 10,000 cubic feet.
Yeah.
But,
It just seems strange we've had two enormous bills right after our new, how we calculate it. I mean, what are the chances? I mean, because we had consistently that large a bill every month in the past. I'm just,
Yeah, did this just start leaking right that month? Why wasn't it higher before if that, I mean, I know we're not gonna find a solution, I'm just trying to think back what, you know, it should have been, you thought it would have been higher a few months before that, and I don't know, that's.
Any additional public comment? We have a motion by Rich, second by Alan, to waive the water bill for 205 East Liberty Street with the exception of the last 3-month average to be paid by the individual. Council need any further discussion on this or clarification? All those in favor of the motion signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion 6.3, or the item 6.3 carries unanimously. 6.4, protest of January 2020 utility bill for 208 North Garnavillo Street.
Leanne Boone. This is for a rental property we own. The tenant moved out sometime the week of January 13th. The bill was put in our name the 21st. We were in there that weekend, leading up the 18th, 19th, working in the house. There were no leaks in there. We actually remodeled, or in the process of remodeling the bathroom, so all the water was shut off. The bill we received was for the January 21st through the 31st, and it was for $794.54. I didn't get this letter until today, but this is a letter from our plumber stating that there was no leaks or anything in the house.
So that was only for what, about 10 days?
10 days.
And Jim, did you test this meter?
I did not.
Linda called Friday because she thought there was an issue because there was no usage in the house. Well, there wouldn't have been any usage because there's no water going, there's no tenant living there. So I let them in to come check the meter, and there was no usage.
I have not been aware of this one as long as the other one. Kind of my next step was to see if we could test the meter, but we have not done that yet.
So the water was shut off in the house, not at the curb,
Right,
correct?
and it's a slab house.
No basement.
There was nothing leaking in the house, there was no leaking out in the yard. There's an outside spigot, but that was, we disassembled that a long time ago.
You said this is a slab house?
Mhm.
So all the water piping would be in the house, nothing going underneath the floor?
I believe so.
Where's the meter?
Meter's in, so we own another house, and the meter's actually in that house. Some of the properties in Anamosa are like that.
Yeah.
The only reason I bring this up is that I got called last year, and I was shocked when they told me how much water I was using at my shop, and we could not find a leak. And it turned out that we had a line going underneath our building to one of the other, to the other side, to another building, not the same one, and it had sprung a leak underneath the ground. We couldn't find it, but, so we had to run everything up on top now, so it's inside that building. So I was just wondering if you had any lines underneath it.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, and then the month afterwards, did you have a bill for water, or was it
No,
still
she
shut
told
off?
me Friday because there's been
It's still
absolutely no
shut off.
usage.
And the week after that, nothing? I mean, the month after that, that would be this month?
That would
or-
be this month, and
Yeah,
there's been no usage.
so there was no water usage last month,
Not since that billing, no.
okay?
Well, the 10 days you had, was there somebody in there first part of that month, or was there nobody there the whole
There
month?
was nobody there.
Is this a duplex, or is this just a one
It's just a house.
rental house? Do you know what the tenant was normally paying for water?
I have no idea. It was just a single guy living there, so.
Not by much.
In this case, Leanna, the meter was red for the individual that was the tenant. 10 days later, it was red again, identified this $700 bill. But in the interim, the water had been turned off on the inside
Mhm.
by yourself, the landlord.
Right, well, and then our plumber took everything apart and it's been replumbed.
I just don't get it. And then she said there was no usage. She called you for no usage, but you get a bill for $800.
No usage post this billing.
Since January
Since.
31st.
which indicates that there's no leak.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's shut off. I mean,
We should have noticed something last month then.
In similar situation that
Yeah.
you experienced, yes, Alan.
Yeah. That's what I was wondering.
And you shut it off as soon as you took possession, got back into the house, or
Yeah, we
did you
started
wait a
working
couple
it.
of days, or,
No, we went in there as soon as we could, as soon as he moved out, because we knew that
and
we
shut
had
it
a lot
off?
of work to do. Yeah.
Okay.
Now have you turned the water back on?
No.
I was just, you know, what Alan said, if there would be something underneath, turn it on, that would happen again. You know, if there'd be a
there's-
line underneath.
Yeah, I
It'd
just,
just be interesting when it's back on. And if it's back to normal, then where to go.
mm,
Well, depending on where the meter sits, the shut-off valve sits, if they shut it off when they first got in there, and they still got a $600 bill or $700 bill for 10 days after it was shut off, and then there was nothing after that, there's a problem in there someplace.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true,
Definitely.
yeah.
Definitely.
Was this bill recalculated to make sure multipliers and everything were accurate?
I have not recalculated it.
I didn't know about it until,
Okay,
until that.
well, that might be something we ought to do, is whenever we get something like this, is immediately go to those bills and recalculate them to make sure they're accurate.
might be a policy we should do every time we see one like that. Before the customer's even contacted, we're the first ones to know if that happened. So if you see a high bill, the first thing we do is recalculate to rule that out.
Yeah. You know, if you shut off the water and got a $600 bill, there seems like something went haywire in this whole process.
And I guess it'd be interesting the next month, what comes.
Once they turn the water back on.
Yeah, see if it gets way out of whack again. I mean, this is just two odd ones, it's just strange to have two of them that are this far out of line.
And again, the meter has not been tested to be proved out.
This one is not.
you know if the meter was red when it was shut off?
If my guys go out and do it, that would be up to Linda if she had a work order handy.
They didn't come in because we have to let them in. They didn't come in physically to read it because we have to let them in.
Yeah, they could have read it from the outside.
My understanding is it was read by the radio read when it was transferred from one account to the other, so that way we have the way to bill the prior tenant. But yeah, I don't think we've had a reading since that point.
You say this meter's in a different house? So if it's in a different house, is that other house a part of that same meter, or is there a separate meter for that other house?
They're separate.
There's two separate meters
The
there?
other one is a duplex and each one has its own meter, so there's 3 in that place.
Okay. And where's the shut-off valve for the house that you're talking about?
Todd did it, I'm assuming it's in the house where it comes, I don't know.
Well, I mean, so you could have the meter in house A
Right,
and the shut-off in house B where you were working, and in between the houses is, you got a line running underground, you
Right.
got, so there could be something there too.
well, when I left them in the basement, I mean, I know that there's a shut off on the meter in the other house, I did see that, so I don't know if that's the only one or if there's another one.
Okay. Okay.
could be some options with, this agenda item. We could test this meter, see if it's operating as it is supposed to. Could reformulate to make sure the numbers equate out. So, this could be tabled, just place it in a holding pattern.
The other thing I'd like to know is actually where the shut-off valve is compared to where the meter's at. But find out all those things and we could table it until next meeting.
With no additional penalty.
Right,
Right.
right,
Right.
definitely.
And once we go through those steps, possibly look at what we did in the
Right.
previous
Mhm.
item.
Yep.
But then we'll have all the information at that point.
So would someone summarize that in a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to table this until the meter can be checked out. We can find out where the shut-off valve is compared to the meter and recalculate the bill.
With no penalties.
And at this point in time with no penalties, and we'll table this until the next meeting.
I'll second that.
That will give ample time, Jim, to test that meter, 2 weeks?
Oh, you bet.
Okay, great.
Well,
Jacob,
I
same
would
with on recalculating?
Yeah.
So, motion to table this, by Rich, second by Alan. Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Council need any further discussion? All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. 6.5, resolution approving the hire and setting salary for full-time patrol officer for fiscal year 2020.
Move to approve.
Second?
Want to make sure the council's aware of that second provision in the resolution, but I think it's reasonable. I just want to make sure you're aware of it and not caught
Yeah,
off guard.
I agree.
Public input? Motion by Rich, second by Alan, approving the hire and setting salary for full-time patrol officer for fiscal year 2020. Roll vote?
Smith,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Crump.
Yes.
6.5 carried with unanimous yes vote. 6.6, resolution to set wages for Parks and Recreation Assistant Directors.
So moved.
Second?
Jeff, was that you second?
Mhm.
Thanks. Public input? Any further council discussion? Motion made by Kay, second by Jeff, to set wages for Park and Recs Assistant Director, and this is a roll vote.
Zumba,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Crump.
Yes.
6.6 carries with unanimous yes vote. 6.7, discussion of possible action on police and fire department facilities.
Tim Shada, 400 East First Street. Just like to know where we go from here, since the vote kind of turned everybody down. We have plans that we paid for the building. I've gotten a couple other bids of what it's gonna cost for the work, for Jacob to have something to send out to, other contractors. This isn't something that is a luxury item that the firemen want. This is something that between the firemen and the town, we need. I don't know how many of you council people have been up there lately, but, it is crowded. Like I said at one of the previous town hall meetings, we have equipment right now that is gonna take us probably 15 minutes to get to. Emergency rescue equipment. That's not good. It's been that way for too long now. A lot of that equipment was donated to us. So like I said, it's not a luxury item that the firemen want. We don't spend time partying up there or anything like that, but we need it to help protect the community. I was also told at one time by previous city hall employees, and if I'm wrong, please let me know, that if we stayed under a certain amount, it didn't need to go to a vote, a town vote, that the city could just borrow money, providing it was, all right with everybody, and that we could move on from there. And quite a while ago, when I started this little session, at the time, the police expansion had kinda went into limbo, but fire was still looking to do their job, and I'd stopped at the 3 banks, and at the time, they were in agreement with each other, providing they got more information from Jacob on, a loan, and going together for a loan. You got anything you wanna say, Mike? Mike's with me. He's been kinda helping me with this project going along.
Mike McGreevy, I live 18479 Highway 64. As Tim has mentioned, he went to the banks and they were all for going together for a loan. The estimates we have, I believe, is $700,000 is what you can borrow up to without going for a bond. Our estimates are well below that. The plans have been purchased by Jacob. I don't know if everybody's seen them. They were like $5,000. We're ready, set to go. We have a lot of labor donated to us, in-kind labor. All we need is a go-ahead from the city council so we can get started with this project. This was on the council agenda back in 2014. And it's been dropped and dropped and dropped. So with the no vote that came through the bond, and the repercussions I've gotten from the public, everybody was in favor of the fire station. Nobody's in favor of the police station. So, we got shot down because of that. And I'm sorry for Jeremiah, because I know what kind of a predicament he's in. And I guess you're gonna have to go back and draw up plans for him, but ours are ready to go. We just need the okay from the council.
So you have some bids?
Yes, we do.
How-
Estimates.
Estimates, okay. Ballparks then. How much?
Right now, we're looking at probably 340,000.
It's about where we're at, I believe.
I have not personally
haven't
seen
got a-
all the bids.
No.
Tim has.
I haven't got a bid for plumbing yet, plumbing and heating, but there's not much to do there. We've already got water run to the edge of the old part of the building, so that shouldn't be, that largely involved. We got a bid for electrical, and, we were looking at, we were able to go off of our current panel. And the electrical for the new building was come in around 58,000.
Is that figure, that 340 roughly, is that assuming the in-kind donations, or that's real money, or that's what it would be if you had to pay for everything?
That would be with the donations.
Okay.
We've got the first one I talked to on concrete was Rogers Concrete, and they looked at everything. They'd talking to Jacob and I before, and we had met out there with the contractor, and they were going to donate all their labor for this project. Now, if I remember right, I don't have it in front of me right now, but the figure that I got from Sean Jensen on building the building, he has also give us a complete itemized. He's got the plans, and he has also knocked another 5,000 off of it. And this other one wasn't in writing, but it was stated here in this room that Bryce Ricklips would do any dirt work for us and throw that in as a donation.
So, I just wanna make clear, it's helpful to have those bids, cause it helps us understand the price, but we can't do this project and picking our people. We have to go through a public bid. It's a public improvement. Now, hopefully all these contractors work on the project and those donations are included with their bid, either as a general contractor or as a subcontractor to the general. But we can't go directly to them and piece this together. Just state law, we can't do that.
These are just kind of estimates.
Right.
So,
Right. Exactly. And again,
but we just needed
hopefully we're
figures
able
to
to
where
work
we
with
got.
all of those people, but we can't.
Exactly.
We can't do it like you would if it was a project in your backyard.
No, we
No,
just
we
needed,
understand
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
we
absolutely.
were
Have to
trying
make
to
sure
get
everybody
numbers
here-
to get our total project.
Yep. So getting to the borrowing aspect, I guess there's a lot of different ways we can handle this, but I mean, the borrowing is what required public approval. So, I mean, the absolute fastest way to move forward is just use cash on hand in the general fund, which I would not recommend. I mean, we have some money there, but that's intended there for reserves. I don't think we should dip into that for this project. But that wouldn't require any approval by anyone other than the city council. I'm looking into this option. I don't have the details right now, but we could potentially get a loan contingent on TIF revenue rather than general obligation debt. So that could happen quicker than any general obligation debt if we have the necessary funds there. So that's not for sure. But if we're looking at general obligation debt, which is most likely what's going to happen, that's what was proposed in the recent special election, we have to wait at least 6 months from that election to try that proposal again. Now you're right, we can do what we originally did last fall, which is try a reverse referendum for under 700,000. The council can propose that, they can move forward as so long as there's not a petition that would force an election like happened this time. So that being the most likely scenario in my mind, we'd be looking at this fall. We can try the reverse referendum again, and if there's no petition, then we can move forward and go from there.
So this still has to go to a vote for the people,
To the council.
to the council, okay?
If the reverse referendum works under 700,000,
Mm-hmm.
if there is no petition, it does not go to the vote of the people. The petition forces it, which is, again, that's what happened this time. We had a petition, and that forced it to go to a vote of the people. But basically, if it's under that amount, we can move forward so long as there's not a petition.
And we were given some misinformation. We were told the council could go down and get a loan to get this project.
That's not the case.
Like I said, that was from previous employees of City Hall here. So that's kind of what we were basing our plans off of.
Yeah.
So when does this go to a council vote? You say 6 months?
It has to be 6 months, so sometime in September would be when we could take action on general obligation debt. And that's a broad term. General obligation debt, that applies to a loan from the local banks, or if we go out on the bond market for that money.
And will that just be fire on that, or will anything else be incorporated in that?
I think it would just be the fire project. I mean, we've obviously got we're gonna discuss the police, and they're both projects that something has to happen on, but I think that would be, I think they're gonna be separate projects.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Tim. And Mike.
Good information, guys.
I guess kind of the same thing with the police, other than the question is how likely we can figure out a project that stays under 700,000, because again, once you cross that threshold, it does have to go to a vote no matter what. To me, I'm taking the approach of back to the drawing board, and looking at every possible situation. I don't know if there are any other questions on that, but
Has there been any buildings checked or looked at, or?
we've looked specifically at one option, and for real estate purposes, we'll discuss that one later tonight,
I
but,
understand.
Well, at this stage, I think we need to take a step back, reassess. It's not gonna be anything that's gonna be decided in a week, 2 weeks, or 2 months, so I think we just need to, as far as the police go, step back and think about it and take a look at things. So,
Public allowed to speak.
Yes.
Mike
Good
Dearborn, 405 North Division. Still not over my voice. I agree to a certain extent to the fire chief and Mike that he stated that, well, it was a police station that drug this thing down. It's not your exact words, but it's kind of how the gist of it. I kind of disagree with that. I have the people I visit with too. And hardly anybody I talk with disagrees that we need something done with the police station also. Obviously, the fire department. I'll get to that in a minute. But we agree on the police station. What we didn't agree as citizens of this community is the way in which the process went about. It was almost secretive. There wasn't a lot of input. You had a town hall where you broke into groups to get some suggestions as to how we could proceed and what other ideas there might be out there. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know if there was ever a follow-up meeting to say, thank you, citizens of Anamosa, but we decided to go a different direction. Was there, did I miss that? Because it seemed like it went from that meeting to, no thank you, we know better than you do. Now, you might not like to hear this, but some of you do need to hear this. You're sitting in these seats, voted here, not because you're smarter than the rest of us. You're here as our voice. Not this voice, trust me. But to be our voice, you gotta listen to us. And we had plenty to say. And you just rushed this thing through way, way too fast. Not enough information. You're holding closed session meetings about purchasing property. On the one hand, I understand how that works because I'm in investment properties. But at this point, if you're renegotiating this other property or this same one, nobody's gonna pay it. You don't worry about the price going up. Nobody's gonna outbid you on this. Trust me, it's not gonna happen. Now on the fire station, they're absolutely right. 2014, I happened to be sitting in one of your chairs. And I was on that committee. And I'm gonna beat the same dead horse I've been beating for the last couple months. I was a pusher and a goer for Citizen Advisory Committee to participate in that building project. I left office shortly after that, And then right at that time, also, the previous administrator learned that there was no interest in also moving City Hall up there with the fire station. That was his main concern. And when that took place, the whole thing got dropped. Am I right on that?
I don't
That's
remember.
exactly what
Yes.
happened.
I don't remember exactly.
Yes.
And so that's how this has gotten drug on and on and on. And in the meantime, the police station has suffered also for some of the same reasons, because people are dragging their feet. How many of the last several meetings have you guys, town hall meetings and city council meetings, have made statements in the effect of, well, we'll form a committee and we'll get on this, okay? Old Dubuque Road closing, downtown revitalization. I haven't heard squat about any of those meetings taking place. Have any of them taken place? Have you formed a committee? Have you contacted any citizens of Anamosa that might have expertise in these certain areas? That's a direct question.
Well, getting to your committee on Old Dubuque Road, they have met. Rod responded at, the last meeting with a report updating everybody on that committee's first meeting.
Okay?
So that has been
And
done.
prior to that, I remember you saying that you were gonna try to see if you could get a secondary committee made up of
Well-
different citizens of different walks of life. Am I right on that?
And they've only had one meeting, and they have said that they are going to make contact with other people.
Okay,
So give them a chance
all right,
before jumping on them.
all right. How about the downtown? You guys said you were
We've
gonna form a committee, hasn't
We've
it?
met once.
Who's
we-
met once?
The Downtown Improvement Task Force is what it's called.
And who's that consist of?
It
Who made that
consists-
up?
The council approved that committee. It consists
Right,
of.
but did you take in consideration about involving somebody outside of council?
So the council formed the committee. The committee consists of myself, the Jones County Economic Development Director, the Chamber of Commerce Director, one council member, and then those 4 members are appointing 3 additional members to the committee, and those are all going to be downtown business owners or property owners.
And when's that taking place?
So we've met and we've appointed 3 initial people. As far as I know, they're still being contacted to confirm if they're gonna participate, but
Sometimes don't you feel like you guys are in a rut, where you get your packet, whenever you get it nowadays, you're on your iPads. You come here, you vote on an item, you go home and you wait 2 weeks to start all over again. You feel like that sometimes? Or do some of you, like I used to do, research and work hard outside these 4 walls
Just
as
for-
representatives of ours?
Just for your information, there is something that I've been working on. I don't know if it's gonna solve some of the problems we're having on the other side of town with these vaults that they're putting in the ground, but I'm running a business every day, and yet this morning I came in at 6 o'clock, and at noon I was still in my office making phone calls. I've put in the last 2 weeks, 6 8-hour days of my own time. So I've also been in contact in regard to what you guys were just talking about with Mickey Shields in Des Moines, who is involved in this downtown beautification project, and he's very excited about it, and we discussed it a little bit, not that it was what I've been working on, but it's something that I'm also interested in. And he loves the city. He says he's been here quite a few times, and I talked to him about the church, because we're gonna have to fix that building. I call it a church, it's not, but we're putting a roof on it, and I wanna get some grants. I took it upon myself to do that, and I've been making calls on that also. And Mickey Shields is one of the people I was talking to, and he sent me to some other people, and I do think, just so I can report this now, I think that I may be able to get a grant to happen for next year. I don't think we can get anything this year. There's a possibility if we get it taken care of in time, we may be able to use a grant to help put this building together. So I, for one, I just want you to know, I'm not trying to be defensive. I just want you to know that I'm, for one, take very seriously what the people voted for me for. I told them that I wanted to make some changes here, and I take that very seriously, and I plan on doing that. no offense to everybody else in this room, but to come hell or high water, that's my job. So,
Okay, I applaud you for that, Al.
and there are other people in this room here too, council members that I've talked to, and I know that they're feeling the same way. It's not always that we're doing something in the open where you see it. It's just discussions that back and forth. But there's things happening. I'm excited about the group that we've got. I've only been here since January, but I'm just asking that you give us a chance. I really want to I want to show you that I can do, and I'm sure everybody here wants to show that we can do what needs to be done. I've never seen a council that was as excited about it. There's a lot of like minds in here, and we all have the same goal. We're gonna try, honest to God, we're gonna try.
So I guess in my closing, can I ask you, do you feel like we're gonna take a different approach this go around on police and fire? Because I do know that fire, a lot of people did request that to be split off. I don't ever remember what the answer was to that, but I do remember it being brought up on several occasions. But I honestly don't think that drug them down. I'd like to think it did not. But I've given you my opinion on what went wrong. By this time, you've had some time to mull it over. Does anybody want to correct me?
We've been discussing Plan B, just throwing stuff out, trying to figure things out. This has to be solved. It does.
It absolutely does.
It does, and it's gonna take some time, but we have to take a step back. And I'm gonna say, at some point, we need to really discuss all of the things that went wrong, because there were multiple things that
Oh, there was,
that
yes.
failed in this whole process. But I would like to think that going forward, there is going to be a new approach.
Good to hear.
Facts are important. And
Pardon?
Facts are important, and I think to some degree, there might have been a little misrepresentation of facts, not intentionally, but maybe there weren't enough facts that you guys understood what was happening and what we were planning on doing. And we've discussed this, and we're gonna try to improve that. We want you people to be involved and informed in what we're doing. Coming to the meetings is important, and there's some people here that I see sitting out here that come to meetings quite often, and I applaud you for that. I mean, you're coming here, and you're half the time, you probably got your phone in your hand with somebody watching you from the other side. You say, so it'll start vibrating and wake you up. It gets boring sometimes, but that's part of your job out there, is keep an eye on us, okay? It is. So thank you for that.
Well, I would just like to end by saying, I want the fire chief and the police chief to know that this community is still behind you, absolutely. That vote is not representative of the community as a whole. I'm trying not to speak for the community, but that vote is not exactly how things are really out there, in my opinion. So I guess keep your chin up, because better days are ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other community input? We do not have a motion or any direction with 6.7, other than, as Rich stated, taking a step back and review.
I would like to probably say at some future date, holding a work session to discuss what our options are before we get too far involved in anything else. Just taking a little time, having a separate work session, and go from there.
Myself, I would like everybody out in the audience to know that if you have any suggestions, I'm open, I'm open for suggestions. I would like to take them in too, because it's something that we would come to bring to the meeting. So we've got a huge think tank in this city. Let's put our heads together.
Well, and as part of that work session, I don't know if we can invite some some people in to be a part of that discussion, to get their input into what our future plans and how to proceed would be.
If it's a work session, it's open to everybody, but I mean, we can certainly invite specific
Well,
people if you'd like.
I think it would be good to invite some people, at least to begin with, so they get in on the ground floor of this discussion.
Agreed. So should we appoint somebody or a couple people to sort of think tank that and decide some business owners we could bring in the beginning of it? And, I mean, we can't have 600 voices, but we get people we think that could really help us work on this on the first meeting, and then make a decision where we're gonna go from there as far as the public input and things. I don't know.
Well, we can either do that, or we can say, if you're interested, let us know. And then establish a time for that work
Yeah.
session. That way, if Mike is really interested in, he can approach us and say, yes, I'm interested in
Correct.
being part of that group, and he can be here then.
Could we put that in a newspaper ad or something, someplace where the public can see it?
We could.
I think we should.
Or on the website.
Website?
Just,
Website.
I think if we can get 5, not saying, like you said, I don't think we need 600 or
No.
500, but if we can get 5 people to at least partake of that, buy some ownership into it, it's a start.
I agree.
Are you proposing a specific date, or you just wanna?
Not yet.
Okay.
I think we,
We need to get budget done first, perhaps.
Yeah.
well, get that done, and I still am going through a lot of the things that I think went wrong,
Okay.
that I wanna make sure that we don't stub our toe again. Because I think we not only stubbed the right foot, but I think we stubbed the left foot too. Because of things how they were handled.
Well, Rich, I would be in agreement with you. As part of the city council at the time, the path we went down was not the path we should have went. One thing about that, and not in my defense or your defense, those that do nothing don't make mistakes. When you do make a mistake, own it. That speaks of character. And I know the council that sat at the time, as they look back, they will take ownership in the path that we chose. It was not done to be in any type of secretive. I would be the first to call out anybody that is not transparent. So it may appear that it was done behind closed doors, but it certainly was not the intention of that sitting council. The community spoke at the for vote in the referendum. With that type of landslide, it was heard loud and clear. I may not be fully in agreement with Mike, because in the past less than a week, I've heard from people that would not vote in favor of it no matter what, and they will not vote in favor of it in the future, is if it has anything to do with their taxes. So it is what it is. I don't know if we will be able to work through exact particulars on 6.7 tonight, so I would entertain a motion to table 6.7 until some point in the future where we feel we are looking to advance.
So moved.
But we can't put it on the back burner. We have to
No.
continue working.
I'm not saying.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Kick it
I
all the
just-
way down the road, but we need to take take some time
Oh, yeah,
to
yeah, yeah, yeah.
evaluate
I
this.
agree, I agree.
I would like to see it at a bare minimum to be on the agenda for the first meeting in April. To bring it back up and discuss.
I'd amend
Is that your motion,
I'd
Alan?
amend my motion to, have it the first, meeting in April. And make sure that everybody out there that we feel should be here knows about it. And what other manner we decide to do that.
Have this agenda item back on our regular meeting, and at that point, maybe we'll discuss that work session.
Work session, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Is there a second
I'll
to Alan's
second.
motion? Thanks, John. Any additional, community public input? Motion by Alan, second by Jeff.
You got somebody.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's me, Angela Weinkauf, 501 North Division. I was just wondering, when you're doing your work sessions, what the possibility would be to include members of the rural fire district for the fire department portion? Because I know there are a lot of people that have opinions, but haven't really been invited to share them. And then also, is there an option for the fire department to begin fundraising, doing their own campaign to try and offset some of the costs? I'm not trying to take anything away from the police department. Everybody I've talked to in this town is in full agreement that the police department does have its deficiencies. I'm sure many of you know, though, the fire department's pretty near and dear to my heart. Spend a lot of time up there, so last Sunday, myself, my 9-year-old son, and 2 firefighters spent 3 hours sorting cans to turn in for money, so I have a very vested interest in that department and would love to include everybody who's actually involved in their success in the decision making.
Take it under advisement, thanks, Angela. Motion by Alan, second by John to table, further discussion and review on 6.7 until the first council meeting in April. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. 6.8, resolution setting the date for the public hearing on the proposed annual budget for fiscal year 2021.
I'll make a motion to set the date, for March 23rd, 2020 at 6 PM.
Second.
Any other discussion from council or public? Motion by Rich, second by Galen, to set the public hearing for March 23rd to review for annual budget. Roll vote?
Smith?
Here, I'm present. No, hey, I told you I've been taking medicine. Just a momentary lapse.
Earl?
Yes.
Lockhart?
Yes.
Zumba?
Yes.
Stout?
Yes.
Capron?
Yes.
6.8 carried with a yes unanimous vote.
No problem. We needed a laugh.
6.9, beer and liquor licenses. A, renewal of Class E liquor license Walmart Supercenter number 646.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any additional discussion from council or public? Motion by Rich, second by John, to approve the renewal of the Class E liquor license for Walmart Supercenter. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried unanimously. 6.10, review and approval of current bills.
Move to approve.
Quick question, who is the appraisal to for Cook appraisals for 2,800?
That was an appraisal for, ground for the new well site.
Okay, that's right.
Second.
Thank you, Rich.
It's kinda hanging there, so thought we ought to get it taken care of before we discuss anything.
Is there any further discussion from the council? Public input?
Nancy Schaefer, 803 North Division Court. I have a question on the paint that was purchased at Menards and the primer. I just question why you would have wear and tear on a vehicle to drive over there to purchase paint, plus the wages spent to send somebody over there, when it can be purchased in town. Thank you.
It's a valid question.
Yeah.
You know what that paint was for?
Was it a specialized paint or something, or what's the,
Off the top of my head, I don't know what that paint was for.
okay. Painting in the water plant?
Interior,
Okay, is
interior
it-
paint?
Is that one of those paints that's supposed to
Rob,
be,
could you just come on up?
is that one of those paints that's
Thank
supposed to be
you.
mold resistant?
No, we had to use the primer because it's old block, so it seeps in. We checked down there at Daryl's, he was a lot more expensive than Menards.
Okay,
And he couldn't get it in as much as what we got it at Menards. We got it in 5-gallon buckets for, I think it was 100 and something. And then
Okay.
there's a rebate on top of that. So we did check around to see where we could get it from, where we could get it cheaper. It just so happened Menards was a heck of a lot cheaper than down here.
okay.
Because we did check on it and wanted to
Yeah.
shop local, but it was a lot more expensive that way.
Yeah, I've been up there, it's looking really, really nice.
Yeah.
Very impressive,
Yeah, it's a lot of painting.
yeah,
So that's where the paint came from.
okay, thank you.
Thanks, Robert.
I would agree with Nancy though, if we all can, I would like to see us get in town here.
I guess my only comment on that is part of the purchasing policy, one thing I'd like to look at getting in writing is that making that determination between local business and outside the community. There, some communities have a percentage threshold where you kind of say, you've got to balance the benefit between the dollar amount spent and the benefit to the local business. So at what point do you say, I need to favor the local business even if they're a little bit more, versus you're saving a lot of money and you need to go look at the broader market. And that's something I guess I'm looking at discussing when we get to that point.
There's a motion by Kay, second by Rich, to pay the bills as they were submitted. Any further discussion from the council? All those in favor of the motion signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimous. 7.0, City Administrators Report.
March 4th, the first meeting of the Downtown Improvement Task Force met. The four members appointed by the council officially, and then, like I said earlier, we appointed the 3 additional members that are either downtown property or business owners. I haven't heard back if they've accepted or not, but we scheduled our next meeting for the first Wednesday in April. I think that's April 1st. So, and then we'll hopefully keep meeting at least monthly from there on out. We reviewed the downtown assessment and kind of came up with some initial projects we want to work on. Looking at the downtown parking, possibly going to switching one side of the road to angled parking, and also looking at trying to get some more regular downtown events. On the 5th, attended with the mayor and chief of police the overnight town meeting for RAGBRAI in Des Moines. I thought it was a good informational meeting. We've got a lot of work ahead of us. for that event, but gotta give kudos to Leanna Boone and the Chamber of Commerce. She's got us off on the right foot. So the last thing, it's been delayed much longer than I would have liked, but was able to get the site maps for the new website submitted over the weekend. So we should be on track to get that launched this spring. Should have training for employees here soon. So that's all I've got unless there's other questions.
Well, I do have a question. The building on Main Street, I was thinking we were gonna have it on the agenda tonight to have a discussion.
I meant to include that in my report because it wasn't on the agenda, and I know we discussed that. I guess the process, I think, is going as intended, so I went back out to the property and took photos, and working with the attorneys, they should be receiving a can't think of the word, municipal infraction at this point, and I think that's the process that is intended to occur.
So they get the infraction, what's the next step? Or how long do they have? What's the timeline, I guess, going forward or moving forward?
Pat, you wanna answer that?
Yeah, so if the notices go out to the owner and the issues are not corrected, we proceed to court. A municipal infraction is just a municipal lawsuit to correct the issue. Usually you can get into court you can get a hearing set within 2 to 2.5 months roughly, sometimes quicker depending on how quick the district court is and how quickly the magistrate can hear the matter. We usually try to get it done as fast as we conceivably can. We ask for the earliest date we can conceivably fill in that they'll allow us to fill in. They are given notice to appear, and that gives us the ability to request not only the fines, but also injunctive relief, which is what you really want. You want the district court to have an order so that anything we do is backed by the power of the court. That protects us in case, we have to take some action that the owner really doesn't approve of. He's been given the opportunity then to be in front of a judge and had his day in court. All the due process wickets are jumped through, and it protects us when we get that relief. Fines don't do any good, or
No.
Typically they don't. I mean, unless they're daily fines and they're prodigious, and sometimes the court will order those. But that only matters if that's gonna be an incentive, and sometimes the injunction is what you really need, where the court says this shall be corrected. And if not, you'll be back here to explain why you didn't, and that's usually what gets people to comply.
Okay. So we're still looking 3 months minimum out to,
It depends on what the court administrator would tell us.
okay,
Yeah, I say that because that's the usual time frame. Now, oftentimes we'll file and then the other party will appear, will contact us, and there'll be a resolution, and we'll enter an order, and take that to court and get that signed without having to have a court date. And that's a much quicker way of resolving it if you can get an agreement.
okay.
Just to be clear, this is the property on Main Street where we have encroachment by that property owner in the rear of his building on what now is believed to have been city property.
Yep.
As well as to the west side on other private property.
Which violates our ordinance,
Violates our building permit, yeah.
but is a civil matter between those two property owners.
I mean, I think we're looking at both aspects of that, just because we need to force people to follow the building permit. But
But
it
they-
is also got civil aspects to it.
Yeah, they can still do their civil lawsuit also, on top of it.
We have made all feasible contact, everything we could do to reach out to that property owner, to inform him that he has encroached, and, you know, if he continues to disregard this, that it will take its course in the legal system. We have gotten no reply from that individual.
I haven't received anything in writing, no.
I'm curious, what did we state as his means of resolution? You know, did we say,
I'm wondering.
did we say he's gotta
myself.
remove the building? Did we say
So,
he's gotta buy the
what-
property? What did we say is the
I
resolution?
believe the way it was phrased was the city may be interested in selling the portion to the north, so that could resolve that encroachment. But we wouldn't really enter into that until there was a correction made on the west side, and that part of the building needed to be modified.
And
so-
he has not responded to that.
No.
Okay.
It's my understanding that those two parties are working that out amongst themselves.
Yeah, but even if they're working it out, he still should have made contact with us concerning the city property. So.
I haven't heard
by-
anything to that effect. The
by
last I
this
heard
time.
from the other property owner was here at this meeting, and they stated they were not going to work it out, so.
If we get this on the future agenda, it might be worth reaching out to both property owners, invite them to come to the meeting.
I can reach out to them and see where things are at, but I guess again, if the council's open to it, and if they do work it out, we just gotta make sure that's reflected to us.
Well, I'm gonna be curious to see where this progresses, because I've got my assumptions, but I'm not going to state them at this time. But we need to stay on top of it.
Is it a possibility at this point in time that we reach out to the parties involved, get them, making an agenda item at the next meeting, get them here to find out what type of resolution they have been working out to align with the ordinance? And then we can also, at that point, lay out what the city's expectation is for that property owner to rectify the encroachment. It is still something to be said about being a good neighbor. Even though we may have extended the hand and received a slap in the face, we could still be a good neighbor.
Well, I guess my question is, do we want to step into a potential civil lawsuit in that fashion?
Well, I'm not inclined really to give the council legal advice in a public meeting, but I will say that generally speaking, it's not a good idea for the council as a whole to try to get involved in a discussion like that.
Yeah.
I would recommend that perhaps the mayor and Jacob and I meet with them if you guys want us to pursue that sort of a discourse. We've already done that, and we probably will have that discourse anyway. Because once that filing is made, someone will have to pay attention, because at that point, they're getting summoned into court. So they're gonna come talk to us anyway. That's all I would say about that right now.
I'm okay waiting for you to do your job.
And I'm more than happy to give you guys a confidential memorandum on what we think about it and you know, what's happening with it, so that you're kept up to speed, and if you really feel you wanna get together and discuss it in under 21.51C and in a closed session, we could. Typically, since it's such a high profile issue, that wouldn't be ridiculous to do a closed session like that, just to bring you up to speed on the litigation, because it will be in litigation. Right now, I would call it imminent litigation right now, in light of the lack of any response.
But, yeah, I'd say let's leave their stuff alone and we worry about our end of it.
Our end could be rectified though,
It could be.
prior to any litigation or further legal actions.
Well,
That would be giving them an offer, which I don't think would hurt that much, but I really don't think that us becoming mediators is a good idea. You can really get into some really crazy stuff
Well,
at that point.
especially if they are in civil suit,
Yeah.
we need to not even get close to that portion
Yeah,
of it.
the only thing we could do is offer to sell that property if that's something that we decide on,
Right.
and give him that option. But once that option is either accepted or denied, we know which direction we're gonna go. I mean,
don't
as
know.
a good neighbor, I agree, we could probably do something like that.
I'm just not sure that we've extended the offer of selling the property, because everything's contingent on the adjacent property owners.
Well, but according to what Jacob said, it may be contingent on that, but even if there's no reason to sell him that additional property if he can't work out the
It
side
might-
deal.
It might give him,
And-
incentive to do that if we do this offer and make it contingent to him settling with his neighbor. If that's done, then we would be willing to sell him the property, possibly. And everything, everybody lives happily after, but if he doesn't settle with his neighbor, there's no sense us selling him the property, cause it's not settled.
Well, and evidently he has not reached out. We can't force him to reach
No.
out, so
No,
I'm good with letting the guy do his job.
Yeah.
I'm supporting of that, I just wanted to make sure that, you know, we exhausted our resources. Thanks, Patrick.
Well,
Anything else for Jacob on city administrator's report? 8.0 mayor and council's reports. 8.1 mayor's report. Thursday morning, there is another meeting set with between the representatives of the city, the county, and the Iowa Department of Transportation on the Old Dubuque Road 151 intersection closure matter. I anticipate setting more of the milestone of when and in what capacity they look to close and begin the extension of Old Dubuque Road. Nothing, you know, we haven't met since the last time I reported on this a couple weeks ago. I have not been privileged to any discussion that has been going on with any of the parties. So we'll wait and see what Thursday morning brings. I would also concur with Jacob that Leanna has done a great job so far quarterbacking the Ragbri overnight stay. Those of you that have been involved with them in the past, as well as the public that has been involved, you know how much work goes into it. I did not realize how many moving parts there are with the overall, with an overnight stay at Ragbi. There's a lot of them.
Oh, yeah.
And I believe that Leanna has assembled a very strong team to do the work behind the scenes in preparation to the event. So I'm really looking forward for Ragbri. I don't want, the end of July to get here that quick and lose half the summer, but I am also looking forward for that event to showcase the community. It is a lot of work, but it will be a great positive for Anamosa. That's all I have from a mayor's report. Council reports.
I went to emergency management. Big thing with them is with Monticello getting the Iowa ride, whatever it's called, and then Ragbri coming back. They're working on that too. And then the big one Brenda said is this coronavirus, with how bad's it gonna be or what they're doing. She can't even find hand sanitizer for their offices up there. It's just gotten out of panic mode or whatever you wanna call it. But big thing is the Ragbri and the other rides, cause one coming through Monty and one here, there's a lot of, and then going through here, Ragbri, when Monticello Fair, as Jeremiah knows, finding security for here, but the sheriff's being over there. So, Guess that's about it.
Thanks.
Well, I met with the senior citizens meal program, Lisa, here the other day, and kind of discussed with her some of the things that they need and what they're looking for. And the only other thing I can report is that she did show me the floor in the building. It needs polished badly, and the cracks between the linoleum laid down are starting to dry out. It needs to be sealed back up, and buffing the floor and waxing that should make a big difference there in helping the floor not deteriorate. Other than that, it seems to me it's going very smoothly. She's running a very tight ship. My wife was so excited about it. She is now she volunteers 3 days a week to help there. And so it's working out real good for me, because as busy as I am, I can't spend as much time as I would like to there. So I have an inside person giving me all the information, so it's working out great. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Parks and Rec met last week. Biggest thing going on there is they're trying to get the pump room redone before the pool opens, which they're about 6 weeks out. But got a couple bids and getting that scheduled so it can be done before the pool opens.
Thanks, Joe. If there's no other discussion or questions for the council on those reports, I will move to 9.0, public with business with the council on items not on the agenda. If there is nothing, 10.0, closed exempt session. Okay, motion to go into closed session?
I make a motion to enter into closed session per Iowa State Code Section 21.5I.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Kay, to enter into closed session. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
We need a
Roll.
roll call on that, Your Honor, because of the nature of the vote, so we can just.
Brooke,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yeah.
Stout,
Yes.
Capron.
Yes.
Unanimous yes to enter into closed session.